Hello, everybody. How's it going? We're starting on time. So happy to have our third post meet. This one is how not to network. I don't want to go negative today. Somebody sent me this email, and you might have read it already in the posting. And I don't know that person, probably a very nice person. But I thought it would be nice to talk about when you're making a cold contact to somebody, especially somebody that you might want to develop a working relationship, somebody that can help you in your career, how you want to approach that. So that's today's topic. We have a lot of other things going on today. I'm going to give away a couple of audio packs from White Rabbit Productions, as well as some transcription services from Simon Says. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, how you can get in on that. But let's take a look in the chat room and see if everybody can hear me. Yes. Qatar, we have people from Sweden, Poland, somebody here in Santa Monica. Todd, how are you? So let's get started with that email that I got. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to ask you what you think about this email. And this is part of the Epic Editing Challenge that we just wrapped up, which was a contest between Chris Coward, who's another YouTuber, fairly big, has 250,000 subscribers, and myself. And we provided footage from a scene, asked you to cut a scene, submit it, and you were able to win $10,000 worth of prizes. MacBook Pro, a couple of hard drives, Premiere, all that good stuff. So somewhere along the line, I got this email. I'm just going to read it out here. Evening, Sven and Chris. I stumbled onto your Epic Editing Challenge, and I only spent a few hours that day messing with it. I intended to go way off script because I really didn't feel any romance or comedy at all from the footage provided. I imagined going very dark, almost horror genre with that style of sound design, but moments for comic relief. I didn't get far into it, but I know my edit is way different than what's been uploaded to the collective. That's the platform where we did the competition. So I thought I'd email you mine in case you might enjoy it. I missed the editing deadline. I didn't have a huge desire to actually submit, but I just returned from a Labor Day trip, remembered about this competition, and felt like you might be getting sick of seeing a bunch of the same edits. If you watch it, I would love to know what you think, or even persuade me to finish what I started. Best, I didn't include the name, but the gentleman included his name, phone number, email, website, everything. So I didn't feel so great about that email, and I was just going to ignore it. But I'm going to ask you, what do you think are some of the sort of warning signs in that email of what could tick somebody off that you might want to have a working relationship with? Let me know. I'm going to check that out in a second. I just want to emphasize again, this is not, I don't want to offend anybody, whoever wrote that. I don't know if you're ever going to see this. This is meant as positive, constructive criticism to discuss about this. How do you really connect with people on a professional basis? So High Tech says, personally, I think that kind of email is only appropriate if in response to a conversation, not an unsolicited email. Damn, that's over the top. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little rude, it's a little arrogant. A couple of things I want to point out is, first he says, I only spent a few hours. So you're telling me you're kind of lazy in the first sentence. You didn't feel any romance or comedy at all. So now you're criticizing the project that I'm involved with. I'm proud of this film. I'm the editor. I got the job. I have a relationship with the director. And you're telling me between the two of us or between the actors, you just didn't feel it. Yes, not everybody's going to love the film, but to start off like this with me, it's not going to really want to make me be excited about talking to you. I didn't get far into it, but I knew that my edit is way different. So again, you're telling me you didn't get far into it, so you didn't really spend a whole lot of time, but you're also sort of saying, but it's different. This is really it. I missed the deadline. I'm not really a fan of missing deadlines. Sometimes it's more important to actually deliver something than to deliver something great. Because if you're saying you're going to deliver by this date, your client is expecting something. And then if you come back and say, well, it's not ready yet, and I don't think it's worth your time, I'm going to be a little that's a warning sign. I'm going to be a little annoyed because I want to see something. And I'd rather see something that's work in progress on a deadline than have to wait another day and be now nervous whether this is going to happen or not. I didn't have a huge desire to actually submit. I'm really interested in people that have huge desires. You're telling me you don't have huge desire. I want to work with people that are passionate. You might be getting sick of seeing a bunch of the same edits. So now you're insulting everybody else that did the work, that showed up, met the deadline, and submitted something. And you're saying they're probably all crap. So I would love to know what you think. So now you're asking for value. And it's kind of tricky. I'm going to get to that. Or even persuade me to finish what I started. I'm not going to persuade you to do anything. I'm not a big fan of trying to motivate people that aren't motivated themselves. So that's how I felt when I first read that email. And usually what I do in that situation, I just ignore it. But I thought there's some value here. Let's see what people say in the comment section. So Todd says he presumed other people were thinking alike. High tech, I didn't have a huge desire to submit. What an insult. Ross says, I don't think exactly that it's a problem email. It's just someone asking for a little help on his personal thoughts. Yeah, I don't know if I agree. If you're asking for some inspiration, some advice, I'd be very, very hesitant to put everybody else down or put the work down that I'm part of, that I'm owning creatively. Todd says it was condescending. Alex says, I don't really take into account that the other person might be too busy to offer feedback. Okay. And High Tech says, on delivery, yes. It's why I submit to contests. I'm not going to win, but it gives me a deadline that I cannot miss. Exactly. There's a lot of reasons why you should do an editing challenge like this, which is, I think the most important thing is not to win, but to have real footage and start thinking creatively with it. Because whenever you put shots, and I keep repeating myself, it's sort of my message on the channel, whenever you actually work with footage, the footage talks back to you and you start thinking differently about your work and your craft, and that's when you're growing. So having said all that, we're going to just let that email sit there, and I'm going to talk about a couple of don'ts when you are in that situation. And then later I'm going to talk a couple of do's. And we're talking about networking on a cold call. So it could be an email, which is one of the most effective way to reach out to people, obviously, and get their attention. And it's so easy to get somebody's attention through social media or email. And then the question is, what do you do with that attention? Let's start with what you don't do. Don't criticize. I would say always start off with positivity, especially if you're criticizing the person that you're addressing to. Don't tell me how to do my job or what I did wrong. Yeah, you might be right, and there are many things that I do wrong, but if I'm listening to a new person, it immediately puts me in a defensive position. Never make excuses. Sometimes I'm in a situation where I work with interns or students, and I look at their work, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth is why it didn't work. Just don't say anything. If you don't feel great about it, just let it be. Let me say that something might be wrong, and I'll be diplomatic about it. But don't already make excuses, because I might like it, or I might see potential in your work. So if you're delivering something, you don't feel great about it, either don't deliver, don't say anything, or let it just be what it is and see what happens. Don't extract value. Don't ask for feedback right away. See if instead you can provide value or you can inspire. You can ask a question that is really interesting. Oftentimes I get the comment, and that's a nice comment. They say, hey, I love your work. It's great. I love that video that you did. And you spent so much time on it, and I can tell that you take this really seriously. Now, can you spare another 5 minutes and look at my short and give me feedback? I understand you would like to have feedback. but you're extracting value right away. When I'm providing a video or when I'm providing some takeaway on YouTube, what I'm doing is I'm sharing it with the community. So it's beneficial to everybody. But if you're asking me directly for feedback, it's a whole different situation. You're basically asking for consultation. So just keep in mind when you're contacting somebody, what is it that you're really trying to do with that? Are you trying to build a relationship, spark, or inspire something, or are you trying to extract value? Maybe hold off or start to develop that relationship first. Definitely don't be arrogant. Don't pitch unless asked. If I'm in a networking environment or some social gathering and somebody sees an opportunity to approach me and talk to me about their project, I know what you're there for. Let me be the one that asks for information. Let me ask you, so I understand you're working on this script. What is it about? And then you can give it your best shot and make it brief. But don't be shy either. You gotta approach people. You gotta be the one that after, let's say I'm speaking at an event and afterwards there are like 5% of the people that actually come up and talk to me. Be one of those and find a way to take that moment where you ask an interesting question or point something out that you notice where you need clarification, something that maybe relates to your own work where you have a problem and how this relates, or you need this to be qualified even further. So these are the things that I suggest you shouldn't do. And let's see what you say in the comment section. So Nostalgia Norden. I didn't do the editing challenge because I didn't have time, but I would never criticize people who did. Agreed. Okay, we're having some buffering. How's the quality of the stream right now? Is it working? Let me know. Cut to the point says, so true. Always give before you ask and never ask for more than you gave. Yeah, that's a good rule. David spent the last 10 minutes trying to find the chat on Patreon. But you're here. You made it. There you go. Is it the first time for you, David? Gets easier. Yeah, don't tell your life story on your first date, says Todd. Image is good, buffering. Well, I hope it's gonna get better. We should have a really good connection because I'm actually on a landline this time, on an Ethernet and not Wi-Fi. Let's go to some do's. Before we do, I want to start off giving away some of these prizes. Every once in a while I get approached by a sponsor who isn't quite in that position that they can fully sponsor a video on the channel. They usually have some service or product that they want to give to me and then I should talk about it in a video. And I thought this would be the perfect medium to do that, where then instead of giving me the product or the service, give it to the patrons. And as a thank you, giving back to you for being a patron and actually attending one of these post meets, I want to give it back to you. So I have two sponsors that are interested to try this out. The first one is called White Rabbit Production, and they are offering stackable audio effects and correction tools for video makers. This works on Final Cut Pro as well as Adobe Premiere. And I can show you how this works on my interface. I've actually played with this for a while. And if you look on the right hand side, you see these effects, these plugins, and they're stacked on top of each other. And if you just look a little further to the left, you actually see them in the installed effects bin, I guess is what that is called. And they have all different kinds of pre-made effects that you can just drag and pull into your shot. And I've been using the vocal focus at the bottom left, and that's exactly what you see now on the right hand side. It's a multiprocessor, a channel EQ, an exciter, a gain, and a de-esser. And on all those on top really help give the sound this great voiceover sound that you're used to when you listen to a great podcast. And I've been using those now for the last 2 or 3 videos. Really love them. There we go. If you're interested, if you have Final Cut 10, here's how we're gonna do it. Or if you have Adobe Premiere, just I'm gonna put a link in the chat room right now, and we're gonna draw the winners at the end of this stream. In that form that you're going to fill out. Let me know. You can click on whether you have Premiere or Final Cut 10, and also if you're interested in the transcription service. And the transcription service comes from Simon Says, and this is a good friend of mine. He is involved with this company, and it's basically a transcription website for media production and distribution industries. So you can take your interviews, your rushes, your raw footage, final edits, and you can give them to them, and they will create a transcript, international version, and all that good stuff. I haven't tried the service yet, but I'm excited to see how this works for you, and I will use it on the next time I get the opportunity. It supports 90 languages for transcripts and does 50 plus translations. You can go by a per minute rate, which is 25 cents, or you can pay a monthly subscription of $15 a month, and then you get half price off, so it's 12 cents a minute and $7.50 an hour. I also wanted to point out with White Rabbit that they are offering a 50% discount. So if you're watching this on the rebroadcast and you're interested in trying out these stacks, or you're interested in buying them, they have a 50% discount. You go on to thisguyedits.com/audio, and that's going to put you on a password protected page, and you put in this discount code. It's called PA Pack Discount 50%. So just the way it is here on the page, and it's up for a few days. I don't know when they're going to take it down, and by using this discount, you're only paying $5 for the entire package, and they have a bunch there. They have a lot. Let me see if I can bring up the page right here. This is on their website, so you can look this up, how you actually install these in Adobe. And then they have these pre-made effects that you can really match up to the situation that you have. Live music outside, loudness, energy, mono to stereo, warm sound stage, all this stuff. The way it's meant to be is it's giving you like a basic approach to it, and then you turn things on and off. And you can try to, there we go, so many buttons to click. You can really play around with it. There you go. I'm going to take a look at the chat and see if we're still having difficulties or if everything is coming through. I hope it does. So Ross says, some of the best places to go to figure out how to pitch yourself in some of the government provide job placement places. There are plenty of free presentations that they're giving by them. Okay, that's cool. Okay, there are a couple more people joined this, so we just gave away some of these amazing plugins that you can have. Click the link, fill out the form, and I'm moving on to part 2 of this webcast. And these are the things that I think you should do when you're networking. The first thing, and this has served me so well, is aim high. You might think it's best to introduce yourself or pitch your project or so to kind of somebody that works within the company, is like an assistant manager or maybe even a vice president. I find it's much easier to go straight to the top. And I'm going to tell you that I've done this in the past and succeeded many times over. For example, I did a video on Final Cut 10 a year ago, 2 years ago, talking about what I love about Final Cut 10, magnetic timeline, all that stuff. And that video started trending on Reddit in a Apple forum or subreddit. I took that link, I Googled around, I found the email address of Tim Cook from Apple, who's the CEO. And I sent him a very brief email saying, hey, I just made this video and people are responding to it. They're going crazy over it. I don't know if I said that, but something like that. And feel free to check it out right here. And I sent that off, and the good news is I did it with my Gmail account. And in Gmail you have a plugin, I think it's called Streak. And you can track if somebody opens that email, when they open it, if they forward it, all that good stuff. And within hours, I could see that that email was passed around. It went like from San Francisco to New York and back and forth. And I sent out that email on Friday. And on Monday, I got a call from one of the Apple team members over at Final Cut and said, hey, would you be interested in meeting with us? We saw that you have this really cool video. We'd like to talk to you, set up a meeting and just see how you use it, like to learn more about it. And so I got a meeting, not with Tim Cook, but by going straight to the top, I was able to bypass a lot of the gatekeepers. And it's so easy nowadays to really get the attention, I mentioned this before, of the people that you really want to be talking to. The question really is, what do you do with it? Is there something you can tell them that's going to inspire them to take action? And in many, many situations, I had when I did my first movie, I was able to get Tom Cruise to take a look at it. He didn't love the movie at all, so nothing happened from it. But I was able to get it in front of him by just going straight to the top. So just be aware. It's often, there's a reason why people at the top are at the top, is because they're open-minded and they're very much in tune of what's going on. And they're in a position where they can make quick decisions fast and they can make things happen. So it's going to help you speed things up. But if you do take that approach, be sure you're brief. So don't write your whole life story. Don't explain everything. Just keep it fast. It's good to say something like, oh, okay, I've made this project and right now it's buzzing. Like people are talking about it. And then back it up. Show the link, show the proof that it is actually buzzing. And because they're going to check it out. And if you're overselling, if it's not true, if it's unsubstantiated, then they immediately lose interest. But if you show excellence, they will check it out because nobody wants to miss out, not even at the top. Everybody wants to see what's going on. Anyway, let's move on to the next tip about what to do when you're networking. And that is show excellence or offer value. I'm always curious to know, and excellence doesn't mean you have to be already a successful Hollywood director or editor, but whatever small project that you're working on, demonstrate that it's working or that you're really pursuing something that you're passionate about and that you're figuring some things out. I'm very interested to know what people are doing and how they're solving problems that they have, especially with storytelling. Or even better, if you can offer some form of help. Excuse me. So for example, Dennis, who I believe is in the chat room, listened to our podcast 2 weeks ago, and he's like contacted me and said, hey, I really like what you're doing with the podcast and enjoy the editing analysis, each scene that we're analyzing there, we talk about it and you can actually watch along because we leave a YouTube clip, but he felt like it's still not quite working for him. What if you make a screen recording of your podcast as you're watching the scene, send that over to me, I'll cut it down, I'll cut it to what you're talking about, and we'll post it as a bonus video. So now Dennis is offering value to me, value to the community, and has immediately a direct line of communication with me. So if Dennis has a question that he asks me, or he has a problem, now I'm indebted to him, and I'm going to do my darndest to help him out. Ask interesting and open questions. Sometimes I get an email with an uninteresting question, like, are you German? Yes. It's uninteresting and it's not an open question. What's an open question? An open question actually requires me to say something more than yes or no. So an interesting question could be, I saw your video on Dunkirk and how you split up the different layers of the storylines through Final Cut 10. That's a really interesting approach. I'm wondering how you do it and whether this could be helpful for me to analyze films as well. Something like that. I don't know if it's the greatest example. But then there I'm like, okay, somebody really appreciates the process that I invested into making this video and he would like to have further information. It's going to inspire me to respond back. Another point is keep moving. For me personally, I don't really like going to network events, but I've made myself go many times under the excuse that, well, if I don't like it, I'm just going to stay for 10 minutes and then I'm going to leave. And by making that deal with myself, it gives me just enough motivation to show up, because then I can like look in my face and say, okay, I did good, I did well. And if it then didn't work out, I'll just leave. But also, if I'm in that environment and I'm just standing around, I'm not talking to anybody, I'll just keep moving. I'll hang out in a certain area, I'll try to listen to some conversations. I see if I can maybe squeeze myself in there with an interesting point, not to take over the conversation, but to start being included. And you can tell if you're standing by a group that is talking, if they start opening up to you, that's kind of an unspoken invitation for you to participate. If they don't move their bodies, if they just talk to each other and you're staying on the outside, you know they're not interested in including you, you just move on. Or you ask a question and you just get a very like short answer back, you just move on. That's just, it's a trial and error, and once you get used to it, it becomes easier and easier. But any party environment, networking environment, I always try to not stay somewhere in a corner by myself on my phone, because after like a couple of minutes it just looks weird and awkward to everybody else, and then you become super aware that you're like not fitting in. Then I'd rather move on somewhere else, and people don't even notice that you don't have anyone to talk to. And usually what happens within that floating process, something will happen. You spot somebody who's in that same awkward position, and you can have a conversation with them, and that usually then triggers having further conversations with other people. And so these are some things that you can do when you are networking. Aim high, go for the top. Actually, also aim low. Go for the assistant. Go to the very bottom. It's really the middle management that's really the trouble, because they are usually overworked, are used to saying no, trying to just protect what they have a very conservative approach to their job. So they're looking for the top things that they can bring to their bosses. The assistants, they're usually hungry and excited, and they want to move up and they want to be known, and you can get them easily to read a script because it's not a job for them yet. It's a vocation, it's a passion, and they might be able to talk to the higher ups as well. Be brief, show excellence, or offer value, ask interesting and open questions, and keep moving. Those are my tips for networking. Let's take a look at the chat room. Hopefully the stream is still holding up, keeping it all together. Do I hear chickens in the background? Yes, you do. Guess how many chickens I have. We have a solid discussion, Premiere versus Final Cut 10. You might have seen the Final Cut 10 video that I made just recently with Chris Olsen, who is the filmmaker of the tracks. I'm going to refrain from making any more Final Cut 10. I love Final Cut 10 videos for the next couple weeks, days. But this one I had to do because I love the software and I love that Brad made this film. So if you haven't seen the video, check it out. We're trying to be objective, but we both love the software. So that's where we're coming from. But Premiere is awesome, I know. So I'm going to just ignore all the trash talk about Final Cut 10 and Premiere, because they're going back and forth. Somebody said iMovie. Nice. Original. David says, I go to networking events quite often. I've gotten a lot of work from it. Yeah, once you're in the groove, once you're used to doing it and you show your face repeatedly, people start noticing you and you become a known quantity, and that's where it happens. It doesn't usually happen on the first event. You have to go repeatedly, reoccurring network events. Here in LA we have Lacey Park, which is once a month in Hollywood, Barnsdale Park, I believe, and they have a panel discussion there, and there's also networking going on the side. They have a big break specifically so that people can roam and talk to each other, free drinks, and once you go a couple of times, your face becomes known, and you usually find out who the players are that are very open to talk to you, all that good stuff. There's another event, it's called something, the Post Meet or something. I forgot the name. I haven't gone yet, but there's another weekly event that sounds really, really promising, and it seems to be also for newbies, which is cool. Ross says, Little plug here. Here in Minneapolis, we're having our Twin City Film Festival next week. My best friend just started up what is called Film Fellows. We're having, for the first 3 days, a greet and meet on Friday night for 2 hours where we talk directly to filmmakers and get to network ourselves. Good stuff. If you're in Minneapolis, go check it out. Cut to the point, loves my tips. I love your video. When are you going to release it? He showed me a video a couple of days ago. Stream is much better now. Oh, thank God. I hate it when technology doesn't work. And I spent 3 or 4 hours yesterday making sure the camera works, making sure this audio works. And I did like 3 different test streams, and I'd be pissed if now it's buffering. Link works. 28 chickens. Ooh, you're so close. I have a lot of chickens right now. I'm like in the egg selling business on the side. I have 24 chickens over there, and I think I have like 12 or 11. It's hard to keep up because sometimes I have hawk issues here, and I let them roam in the yard. So sometimes the chicken disappears. I don't know what happened, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what I do on the side. I have a life full of chickens. Alex, let's see. How do you go about finding these events? Are there any specific resources we should use? Well, Meetup is a great website. You can check out meetup.com and you just type in filmmaking or editing or whatever you can think of, and it shows you local events that are happening every month in your town. And then you can RSVP for them. It gives you all the information and go from there. There are Facebook groups. Lazy Puck has a Facebook group here in Los Angeles. Go check that out. Michael Horton is the organizer of this event. He's been doing it for 18 plus years and gets top quality people to show up to talk. He had, I just did a video with Elizabeth Ronaldsdottir from Iceland. She's the editor of John Wick and Atomic Blonde. She was there and she had a talk, and it sort of inspired this video, or at least I was aware of her work, and that inspired me to include her in the video that I'm doing right now when it comes to music and how she uses music. David says there's lots of events on Facebook. Okay, great. Awesome. We have some, I'm going to get to the prizes in just a second. What time is it? 11:46, so it's time to almost wrap it up. Little housekeeping. Sorry. Podcast tomorrow comes out, new episode, and I'm really excited because a listener like you or viewer suggested a movie, and we're analyzing Mood for Love. Clara suggested the movie. I had not seen it. I was not aware of this filmmaker. Shame on me, but it is amazing. I watched the movie. We analyzed the scene. Great second generation Hong Kong filmmaker, and don't miss that episode. Dailies. I made available dailies from that scene, The Ever After. That is that film that we used as an example in the Epic Editing Challenge. And that film stars Melissa Leo, who's an Oscar winner. It stars Teresa Palmer, who's right now having started a show in the UK that's coming to America as well, where she's the lead. She was in Warm Bodies. She was in Hacksaw Ridge. She is in that film. She co-produced and co-wrote it with her husband, Mark Webber, who's the director. And Mark and I, we've done 3 films together. The dailies of that scene are now available to patron members, $5 and above. So if you are interested in practicing editing with a real film and you haven't done the Epic Editing Challenge, just message me and I'll send you a link to the footage. It's an individualized link so I can track where the footage is floating around. I'm going to keep asking those editors that I'm talking to now if they would be willing to provide dailies of scenes. So for example, I just did a whole session with the editors from Searching. That's that thriller that's out in theaters right now. I didn't think of it, but the next time I get the opportunity to ask an editor, I'm going to email Nick and Will and see if they might be willing to do this. I'm going to ask them if they would offer up a scene, the dailies of that, make that available for patrons so that we can continuously have new sets of dailies that you can be practicing on while you're a member at This Guy Edits. Do let me know if you have a suggestion for a topic for these post meets. I really love the format, the fact that we have a featured topic and then we can go into detail, but also have you ask some questions, which, by the way, if you do have some questions, post them right now. At the end, I'm going to answer some of those. I have a question for you, which is, I'm doing a video right now. Should throw that into the camera like David Letterman. I'm doing a video right now about music in film and trying to find answers to the question, when should you use music in a scene? Let me know, when should you use music in a scene? I would love to know some of your comments of what you think when you're working, when you're editing, how you use music, and when you don't use music. Because sometimes not using music is just as effective as using music, or even more so. As in Atomic Blonde, that one film scene that I'm working on right now, where they don't use any music at all, and it's a 12-minute fight scene, and it feels real. So those are my housekeeping points. I'm going to move on to the giveaway. Let's see how many people subscribed to the giveaway. I have 13 people. And one of those 13 people, I'm going to close this now. One of these 13 people is me, so it's really just 12 people. So you all win a prize. And I'm going to just do that randomly. I was going to do this really fantastic thing where I had, a randomizer. We can just do this. So 2 to 13 is. So I'm gonna just do a couple of these, and then you get to pick first choice, because we have these transcription packs, and if you prefer those and you win this right now, I'm gonna click it in just a second. You get to choose whether you would rather have the audio pack or the transcription service. But here we go. I'm gonna click the link, and the first winner is number 3, and number 3 is Johan. So Johan, let me know, congratulations, if you rather would have the audio pack or the transcription pack. I'm going to do one more. And it's number 12. Number 12 is David. Congratulations, David. I'm going to, and let's do 2 more. And then hopefully by then we've used up all the transcription packs. Number 2 is another David. Okay, so we have 2 David. The first David comes from Croatia. Second David comes from I don't know where, but you have Spectre in your email. You have Spectre in your email. So both Davids, let me know which one you'd rather have, and Croatia David gets preference. Let's do one more. Isn't this fun? Number 11. Okay, so 13, 12, 11. 11 is Abdel Rahim. Congratulations. Let me know if you'd rather have the subscription pack, transcription pack, or the audio pack. And then everybody else gets what's left over. Thank you so much for this stream. We are at 11:53, so under an hour. That's pretty good. I hope I didn't forget anything. Thank you so much for showing up. Very excited about this format. And if you're on YouTube watching this after the fact, please do consider joining the Patreon program. There's so many more benefits that you can get other than free dailies and get to chat to me directly. Hop on over, check out some of the other perks that are there. T-shirts, bonus video, early access, all good stuff. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next month. Bye-bye.